He's coming to kill us.
Thank you, everyone who loved IMBABAZI so much. It validates our judges at IIFF because Joel Karekezi actually won Best Director for IMBABAZI at IIFF 2014. And maybe to say something about Joel, he did IMBABAZI because he is also a victim of the genocide. So it was a story that was very close to him, and by the way he does it, you can tell.
Well, it was shot in Uganda. I think you recognize that. There were a few Banyarwanda or Rwandan characters, but also I imagine that it was a bit difficult to get an entirely full Rwandan cast to play something that was still very close and in nature.
At least the plot was good, because if you imagine the setting was in Kampala, but they tried as much as to look it like Rwanda. Actually, you could feel that it's made in Rwanda.
The actual African story, the reality of our lives in Africa is very different from what we sit and watch, or what our brothers watch, the series we see on TV. So how do we get ourselves or our children to watch what is going on in Africa through such films? How do we get them on TV? How do we get people to go and see these films which are actually about us and about our brothers and sisters, instead of watching all these big blockbuster movies that have nothing to do with us?
I just want to go back to the idea of why don't we have more African films on television and in places where Africans can enjoy them and see them and not be bombarded by Hollywood and such like places.
One, as far as Uganda goes, there is a policy on local content, so you people should produce movies so that our televisions can consume. But if all the TV stations that we have in Uganda were to look for local content, local movies, probably they would exhaust the titles just in a few days. So we should produce more.
It really comes down to economics. It comes down to money, and the people who can give you money want to give you money for a particular story. And then they decide where that story is distributed. The people who can do what is called guerrilla filmmaking have to make films very quickly with very little money, and they become the films that we say, I can't watch that, it's so low standard.
Okay, I was just going to comment on getting African films into Africa. I think what Angie said is very true, because you find some of our very good African films, they've been watched more in New York than they've been watched in Africa. And it's very hard to distribute in Africa. And also it goes back to the stereotypes. There are people who still believe that films from Africa are not good.